Captain Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the Terra's Dream, watching the stars drift past through the main window. She had been traveling between worlds for 10 years now, and the sight still amazed her. Earth was 3 months behind them, and the neutral space station called Kepler's Rest was growing larger ahead. "Captain, we're getting clearance to dock," said Lieutenant Chen from his station. "Bay 7, as requested," Elena nodded.
"Take us in slowly."
"I want this to be smooth." The Terra's Dream was not a warship. It was built for exploration and trade talks. Elena and her crew of 40 humans traveled from world to world, making friends and helping solve small problems. They fixed broken machines, shared Earth's music and stories, and learned about other species. It was good work, and Elena liked it. As they docked, Elena checked her uniform one more time. Today she would meet with Chancellor Korthvel of the Zephyrian people. He was the current leader of the Galactic Confederation, which included 847 different species from across the galaxy. The humans had joined this group 50 years ago, but they always said no when asked to take leadership roles. "We're here to help, not to rule," Elena's grandfather used to say. He had been one of the first human ambassadors. Elena believed in those words. Kepler's Rest was huge inside. The main area had a giant dome showing the stars above. Aliens of all shapes and sizes walked around, talking in hundreds of different languages. Elena saw tall blue Zephyrians with their flowing robes, small green benthan traders carrying glowing boxes, and even a few of the mysterious ethereals floating in their energy suits. Elena's meeting with Chancellor Korthvel was scheduled for the afternoon. She spent the morning walking around the station, watching people and learning. She bought some sweet fruit from a benthan vendor and listened to a concert by a group of musical crystals from the Harmony Worlds. At 2 o'clock, Elena arrived at the government section of the station. 2 Zephyrian guards led her through several doors to a large meeting room. Chancellor Korthvel was waiting for her. He was old for a Zephyrian, with silver marks on his blue skin that showed his age and wisdom. "Captain Vasquez," he said in perfect English. "Thank you for coming. Please sit." Elena sat across from him at a simple table. "It's good to meet you, Chancellor." "How can Earth help?" Korthvel smiled, but Elena could see worry in his large dark eyes. "Your people have a gift," he said. "You solve problems in ways no one else thinks of. There is trouble coming, and I believe humanity might see answers that we cannot." Before Elena could ask what he meant, alarms started ringing throughout the station. Red lights flashed, and a voice spoke over the communication system in several languages. "Security alert. All visitors, please remain calm and stay where you are." Korthvel stood up quickly, his face changing from worry to fear. "No, it's too soon. They said I had more time." "Chancellor, what's happening?" Elena asked, standing as well. The door to the meeting room exploded inward. 3 figures in black armor rushed in, carrying weapons Elena didn't recognize. She couldn't see their faces behind their helmets, but she could tell they were from different species by their shapes. "Korthvel of Zephyria," one of them said in a voice that sounded like grinding metal. "Your time as leader ends now." Elena stepped forward, putting herself between the attackers and the Chancellor. "Wait, whatever this is about, we can talk about it." "Humans," the attacker laughed. "Always trying to talk. This galaxy needs strength, not weakness." One of the attackers raised his weapon, but Korthvel moved faster than Elena thought possible. He pushed Elena aside and threw himself at the attackers. Energy blasts filled the room with bright light and burning smells. When the light faded, the attackers were gone. Korthvel lay on the floor, badly hurt. Elena knelt beside him, checking his injuries. She had some medical training, but she could tell his wounds were too serious. "Chancellor, hold on. I'm calling for help." Korthvel grabbed her arm with a hand that was shaking. "No time. Elena Vasquez of Earth, listen carefully." He reached into his robes and pulled out a device that looked like a small, clear crystal. It was warm and seemed to have light moving inside it. "This is the emergency protocol," he said, his voice getting weaker. "I hoped never to use it. But if I die while leading the Confederation, this device will choose a new leader automatically." "I don't understand," Elena said. "Shouldn't the other species vote?" "No time for voting when the leader dies suddenly." The protocol was built into the Confederation's founding laws. It chooses based on wisdom, fairness, and ability to protect all species. Korthvel pressed the crystal into Elena's hands. It felt warm and seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. "Whatever happens," he whispered, "remember that leadership is not about power. It's about service." The crystal suddenly became very hot in Elena's hands. Light poured out of it, surrounding both Elena and the dying Chancellor. The light was so bright Elena had to close her eyes. When she opened them again, Korthvel was still. The crystal had changed. It was now larger and looked like a staff made of the same clear material. Elena could feel it connected to her somehow, like it was part of her body. The door opened and station security rushed in, followed by Elena's crew. Lieutenant Chen ran to her side. "Captain, are you hurt?" "We heard explosions." Elena stood up slowly, still holding the strange staff. She felt different, like she could sense things happening all across the station, all across the galaxy. "Ma'am," said one of the security officers, a tall Corvan with gray skin. "That's the Galactic Scepter." "How did you—" "Why do you have it?" Before Elena could answer, every communication device in the room started making the same sound. Messages were coming in from across the galaxy. Elena could somehow understand all of them, even though they were in languages she had never learned. The messages all said the same thing. "The emergency protocol has been activated. The Galactic Scepter has chosen Elena Vasquez of Earth as the new leader of the Galactic Confederation. All member species will acknowledge her authority immediately." Elena stared at the staff in her hands. She felt the weight of 847 civilizations suddenly resting on her shoulders. Trillions of people across the galaxy were now looking to her for leadership. "This can't be right," she said quietly. "Humans don't want to rule anyone." Lieutenant Chen put his hand on her shoulder. "Captain, what do we do?" Elena looked around the room at all the faces staring at her. Some looked hopeful, others worried, and a few seemed angry. She thought about her grandfather's words and about what Chancellor Korthvel had told her just before he died. "We do what we always do," she said finally. "We try to help." But even as she said it, Elena knew that everything had changed. The galaxy had just handed power to the one species that had never wanted it. And somewhere out there, the people who had killed Chancellor Korthvel were probably very unhappy about that. The hardest part, Elena realized, would not be learning to lead. It would be staying true to what made humans different, while carrying the weight of an entire galaxy's hopes and fears. 3 days later, Elena stood in the largest building she had ever seen. The Galactic Council chamber on Nexus Prime could hold representatives from all 847 member species at the same time. Right now it held thousands of aliens all staring at her. The trip from Kepler's Rest to Nexus Prime had been strange. Elena's small ship was suddenly surrounded by massive warships from a dozen different species, all there to protect the new leader. Elena didn't feel like a leader. She felt like someone who had picked up the wrong bag at the spaceport. The Galactic Scepter had not left her hands since Chancellor Korthvel died. It seemed to be stuck to her somehow. Dr. Sarah Kim, the Terra's Dreams medical officer, had examined both Elena and the device. She found that tiny threads of energy connected the scepter to Elena's nervous system. "It's like it's become part of you," Dr. Kim had explained. "I've never seen anything like it." Elena looked out at the sea of alien faces and felt very small. In the front row sat the most important leaders from the most powerful species. General Thakmor of the Corvan Empire looked angry, his gray skin darker than usual. Professor Zintal from the Synthesis Collective kept taking notes on a glowing tablet. And floating in the back, barely visible, were the ethereals, watching everything with their ancient eyes. "Elena Vasquez of Earth," said a voice that seemed to come from the air itself. It was the Council's computer system speaking. "You have been chosen to lead the Galactic Confederation. Do you accept this responsibility?" Elena wanted to say no. She wanted to give the scepter to someone who actually knew how to run a galaxy. But when she tried to speak, she thought about Chancellor Korthvel's last words. "Leadership is not about power. It's about service, I accept," she said. And her voice somehow reached every corner of the huge chamber. The computer continued. "You now have authority over all Confederation military forces, trade agreements, and dispute resolutions. You may call upon any member species for aid, and all members must follow Confederation law as you interpret it." Elena felt sick. Back on Earth, she had been responsible for 40 crew members. Now she was responsible for trillions of people. After the ceremony, Elena was taken to the leaders' chambers. The rooms were huge and beautiful, with windows that showed the stars and gardens full of plants from 100 worlds. But Elena felt like a prisoner in a palace. Lieutenant Chen and the rest of her crew had been given rooms nearby. At least she wasn't completely alone. But when the first batch of problems arrived, Elena realized that being alone might have been easier. The first crisis was a trade war between the Benthan worlds and the Spiral Alliance. The Benthans controlled most of the galaxy's rare metals, and the Spiral Alliance built the machines that everyone needed. They had been arguing about prices for months, and now both sides wanted Elena to take their side. Elena spent 2 days reading reports and talking to representatives from both groups. The Benthans said the Spiral Alliance was cheating them. The Spiral Alliance said the Benthans were being greedy. Everyone expected Elena to pick a winner and a loser. Instead, Elena suggested something different. What if both groups worked together to set fair prices? She asked during a meeting with both sides. You could create a committee with members from both groups plus some neutral species to help. The Benthan representative, a small green being named Tok Lim, looked confused. But that means we would have less control over our own resources. And we would have to share our manufacturing secrets, added the Spiral representative, a robot-like creature called Unit 47. Yes, Elena said, but you would also both benefit from stable fair trade. And if problems come up, you would solve them together instead of fighting. It took 3 more days of talks, but both sides agreed to try Elena's idea. General Thakmore, who had been watching the negotiations, approached Elena afterward. Interesting solution, he said, his voice like grinding stone. Not what we expected from a new leader. What did you expect? Elena asked. Strength, clear decisions, winners and losers. The general studied Elena with his small dark eyes. The Corvin way is simpler. The strong rule, the weak follow. That's one way, Elena agreed. But it's not the human way. General Thakmore made a sound that might have been laughter. We will see how long the human way works when real challenges come. The second crisis came 2 weeks later. A group of colony worlds near the edge of Confederation space had stopped sending their required reports. Some species wanted to send warships to force them to comply. Others wanted to cut off trade with them. Elena chose a different approach. She sent the Terra's Dream with a small team to visit the colonies and find out what was wrong. It turned out the colonies were having trouble with space pirates and they were embarrassed to ask for help. Why didn't you just tell us? Elena asked the colonial governor during a video call. Because every time we've asked for help before, we got lectures about being more careful, the governor replied. We thought it would be easier to handle it ourselves. Elena arranged for a joint patrol fleet with ships from several species to help protect the colonies. She also set up a new system where colonies could ask for help without having to fill out dozens of forms first. Back on Earth, President Chen was having his own problems. The United Earth government had never expected to suddenly be in charge of a galaxy. Emergency meetings were being held every day, and politicians were arguing about what humanity should do with all this power. Some people think we should use this chance to make Earth the center of everything, President Chen told Elena during one of their daily calls. Others think we should give up the leadership as fast as possible. What do you think? Elena asked. I think we should do what we've always done, help where we can, and try not to make things worse. Elena agreed, but she was starting to understand that not everyone would like the human approach to leadership. The Corvin Empire was used to strong, quick decisions. The Synthesis Collective wanted logical, efficient solutions. The merchant guilds wanted profitable outcomes. Humans wanted fairness and cooperation, even when it was slow and complicated. The real test came when Elena received a message from the Ethereal Council. The Ethereals were the oldest species in the galaxy, and they rarely spoke to anyone directly. Their message was simple. The new leader will face trials. The galaxy watches to see if wisdom or strength will guide the future. Elena didn't know what the trials would be, but she was starting to understand that her appointment as leader was about more than just replacing Chancellor Korthvel. Something bigger was happening, and the galaxy was waiting to see what humans would do with power. That night, Elena stood in her chambers looking out at the stars. The galactic scepter rested in her hands, warm and somehow alive. She could feel the weight of all those worlds, all those people, looking to her for guidance. She thought about her crew back on the Terra's Dream, now serving as her personal staff. They had signed up to explore the galaxy and make friends, not to run it. But they were all adapting, doing their best to help her carry this unexpected burden. Elena made a decision that night. She would not try to rule the galaxy the way others expected. She would lead the way humans had always led among the stars, by listening, by helping, and by bringing people together. She just hoped it would be enough for whatever challenges were coming. Elena had been leader of the Galactic Confederation for 2 months when the attacks began. The first strike hit a trade station near the Benthan worlds. Pirates, according to the reports. They destroyed 3 cargo ships and stole medical supplies meant for a colony that was fighting a disease outbreak. Elena sent Confederation security forces to help, but by the time they arrived, the attackers were gone. The second attack was different. Unknown ships bombed a communication relay in Spiral Alliance space. This wasn't about stealing, it was about causing chaos. Without the relay, 12 systems lost contact with the rest of the galaxy for 3 days. Elena was studying reports in her office when Lieutenant Chen rushed in. His face was pale and he was carrying a datapad with shaking hands. Leader Vasquez, he said. You need to see this. Elena took the pad and read the message displayed on it. It was from Admiral Korskve, commander of the Confederation's border patrol fleet. Unknown vessels have attacked mining platforms in 3 different systems. All attacks happened at the same time, which means this was planned. The attackers used different types of ships and weapons, suggesting multiple species working together. Most concerning, they left messages. Elena scrolled down to see the message the attackers had left behind. It was written in several languages, but the meaning was the same in all of them. The weak cannot lead the strong. The galaxy deserves better than human rule. Sir, Chen said quietly, there's more. I've been looking at all the attacks from the past month. They're not random. Someone is targeting systems that have been cooperating with your new policies. Elena felt cold. The trade committees she had set up, the simplified help request for colonies, the joint patrol fleets. Everything she had been proud of was being used against the people she was trying to help. She called an emergency meeting with the senior Confederation leadership. General Thakmor arrived first, his gray skin looking almost black with anger. Professor Zintal from the synthesis came next, carrying armloads of data tablets. Representatives from a dozen other major species filled the conference room. The attacks are coordinated, Elena said without introduction. Someone is trying to make it look like my leadership is making the galaxy less safe. Perhaps because it is, General Thakmor said bluntly. These committees and cooperative approaches take time that criminals can use to attack innocent people. The data suggests otherwise. Professor Zintal interrupted, consulting one of her tablets. Crime rates in systems using the new cooperation protocols are actually lower than before, but the attacks are specifically targeting visible symbols of the new approach. Elena studied the map on the main screen, showing all the recent attacks. A pattern was starting to form in her mind. They're not trying to take territory or steal specific things, she said. They're trying to make people lose faith in cooperation. Over the next few weeks, the attacks got worse. A research station was bombed just as scientists from 5 different species were about to announce a breakthrough in clean energy. A diplomatic meeting between former enemies was disrupted by raiders who somehow knew exactly when and where it was happening. The worst attack came when unknown ships struck a joint human Zephyrian colony called New Hope. The colony was one of Elena's proudest achievements, a world where 2 very different species were learning to live and work together. The attackers didn't just bomb buildings. They sent messages to each species claiming the other had betrayed them. Elena was in her chambers when the emergency alert came through. She grabbed the galactic scepter and ran to the command center, arriving just as the reports were coming in. 17 dead, 43 injured, reported Commander Walsh, Elena's new military aide. The attackers hit the shared community center and the joint research lab. But here's the strange part. They could have done much more damage, but they seemed focused on destroying symbols of cooperation. Elena stared at the images from New Hope. She could see humans and Zephyrians working together to rescue survivors from the wreckage, just as they had worked together to build the colony. They're not trying to win a war, Elena realized. They're trying to start one. That night, Elena couldn't sleep. She stood in her chambers looking out at the stars when an unexpected visitor arrived. One of the ethereals materialized in her room, a feat that should have been impossible given the security systems. The ethereal was tall and thin, glowing with soft blue light. When it spoke, its voice seemed to come from inside Elena's head. Elena Vasquez of Earth, it said. You begin to understand. Understand what? Elena asked. The true nature of the challenge you face. Chancellor Korthvel was not killed by random assassins. He was murdered by those who feared the changes he was planning. Elena felt the galactic scepter grow warm in her hands. What changes? The same changes you have begun to make. Cooperation instead of domination. Shared strength instead of individual power. There are those who profit from division and conflict. They call themselves the Umbral Covenant. Who are they? Members from many species, hidden among the leaders and the powerful. They believe the galaxy is becoming weak because different peoples are learning to work together. They want to return to the old ways, where the strong rule and the weak serve. Elena thought about General Takmor's words about strength and clear decisions. Are you saying the Corvan Empire is behind this? Some Corvans, yes, but also some humans, some Zephyrians, some from every species. The Covenant does not care about species loyalty. They care only about maintaining the old order where a few control many. The ethereal began to fade, becoming almost transparent. Why are you telling me this? Elena asked quickly. Because the true test comes soon. They will strike at Earth itself, hoping to break your spirit and prove that human leadership cannot protect even your own world. When that time comes, you must choose. Become the tyrant they claim you are, or find another way. The ethereal disappeared completely, leaving Elena alone with her fears. 2 days later, the choice came. Elena was meeting with colony representatives when alarms began screaming throughout Nexus Prime. Commander Walsh burst into the conference room. Leader Vasquez, we have a problem. Long-range sensors are detecting a massive fleet heading for the Sol system. They'll reach Earth in 18 hours. Elena felt like someone had punched her in the stomach. How massive? 200 ships, maybe more. Mixed types from different species, but all heavily armed. And ma'am, they're broadcasting on all frequencies, claiming that Earth is harboring criminals and that they're coming to bring justice. Elena looked around the room at the frightened faces of the colony representatives. These people had trusted her to keep them safe, and now her own world was under threat. The galactic scepter grew hot in her hands, and Elena suddenly understood its true power. She could command every military ship in the Confederation. She could order them to destroy the attacking fleet without question. She could rule through fear and force, just like the old leaders had. But that would make her exactly what the Umbral Covenant wanted, another tyrant with unlimited power. Elena made her choice. Commander Walsh, send a message to all Confederation forces. Do not engage the attacking fleet. Instead, I want every available ship to help evacuate civilians from Earth if needed. Ma'am? Walsh looked confused. You're not going to fight back? Elena smiled grimly. Oh, I'm going to fight back, just not the way they expect. Elena stood in the Confederation Command Center, watching the display that showed the enemy fleet approaching Earth. 200 ships, all armed and dangerous, would arrive at her homeworld in 12 hours. Around her, military officers from a dozen species waited for orders. Leader Vasquez, said Admiral Korskve, his blue skin pale with worry. Our defense fleets can reach Earth in 14 hours. If we move now, we might arrive in time to help. No, Elena said firmly. Send the fleets to evacuation positions only. I want every civilian ship ready to help people escape if needed. General Thakmor stepped forward, his gray face twisted with anger. This is madness. You have the power to crush these attackers and instead you want to run away? Elena turned to face him. Tell me, General, if I order the Confederation fleets to attack, what happens? We destroy our enemies and show the galaxy that we are strong. And after that? General Thakmor paused, looking confused by the question. Elena continued. After we win, what do you think the other species will say about humans? That we used our power wisely? Or that we used it to solve problems with violence? I think they will respect strength, the general replied. Maybe, or maybe they'll decide that humans are just another species that rules through fear. Elena looked around the room at all the officers watching her. I didn't want this power, and I won't use it to become what we've always said we were different from. Commander Walsh approached with a datapad. Ma'am, we're getting reports from our intelligence network. The attacking fleet is definitely mixed species, but they're using Corvan military codes and synthesis tactical planning. Elena felt the pieces clicking together in her mind. Send a message to Professor Zintal. Ask her to meet me in the secure conference room immediately. 20 minutes later, Elena sat across from the synthesis representative. Professor Zintal's mechanical eyes glowed as she processed information from multiple data streams at once. Professor, Elena said, I need to ask you something directly. Are there members of the Synthesis Collective working with the Umbral Covenant? Zintal's eyes stopped glowing, and she was quiet for a long moment. How did you learn that name? Answer the question, please. Yes, Zintal said quietly. Some of my people believe that emotional decision-making is a threat to galactic efficiency. They think organic species should be guided by more logical minds. And you? What do you think? Zintal was quiet again, then her eyes began glowing softly. I think the data shows something unexpected. Systems using your cooperative approaches are more stable and productive than systems using traditional hierarchical control. It should not work, but it does. Elena leaned forward. I need your help to prove something. Can you access the tactical planning systems the attacking fleet is using? If they are truly using synthesis systems, yes. But why? Because I think this attack isn't really about destroying Earth. I think it's about forcing me to act like a tyrant. Working together, Elena and Professor Zintal spent the next 6 hours analyzing the attacking fleet's approach. What they found confirmed Elena's suspicions. Look at this, Zintal said, pointing to the tactical display. They are approaching Earth with maximum visibility, broadcasting their intentions, giving defenders time to prepare. This is not how you attack if you want to win quickly. It's how you attack if you want to provoke a response, Elena agreed. They want me to use the Confederation fleets to destroy them. But why? The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Kim contacted Elena from Earth with urgent news. Elena, we've been monitoring communications from the attacking fleet. They're not just broadcasting threats. They're also transmitting detailed recordings of everything they're doing to hidden receivers throughout the galaxy. They're making a documentary, Elena realized. They want to record me ordering the destruction of their fleet so they can show the galaxy that humans are just another species that rules through violence. Elena made her decision. She called together every senior officer and representative on Nexus Prime. I'm going to Earth, she announced. Just me in a single ship. The room erupted in protests. General Thakmore stood up so quickly his chair fell over. That is suicide. They will destroy you the moment you enter the system. Maybe, Elena agreed. But I don't think they will. This whole attack is about proving that I'm a tyrant. If they kill me before I can act like one, their plan fails. Professor Zintal consulted her datapad. The probability of survival for such an approach is very low. But not zero, Elena pointed out. And if I'm right about their real goals, they need me alive to complete their plan. Elena took a small, fast ship and headed for Earth alone. The galactic scepter never left her hands during the journey. As she traveled, she used the scepter's communication abilities to send messages throughout the galaxy. She didn't send threats or demands. Instead, she sent the real story of what was happening, along with all the evidence she and Professor Zintal had gathered about the Umbral Covenant's plans. When Elena's ship reached the edge of the Sol system, the attacking fleet was already there, surrounding Earth. Elena opened a communication channel to all ships. This is Elena Vasquez, she said. I'm here to talk. The response came from the flagship of the attacking fleet. Surrender now and we will allow your world to live. I have a better idea, Elena replied. Let's discuss your real goals. Elena's ship moved slowly toward the center of the attacking formation. She knew that every moment was being recorded and broadcast. The galaxy was watching to see what the human leader would do. As she approached the flagship, Elena activated every communication system on her ship and began to broadcast everything she had learned about the Umbral Covenant. She revealed their members, their plans, and their real goals. You're not here to destroy Earth, she said, speaking to the entire galaxy. You're here to destroy the idea that different species can work together as equals. You want to prove that power can only come from fear and force. The attacking fleet's response was swift and violent. Energy weapons lit up space as dozens of ships opened fire on Elena's small vessel. But Elena had one more surprise. For months, she had been working with human engineers and scientists, sharing technology that Earth had been keeping secret. Humans had always been careful not to reveal their full capabilities to other species, worried about causing fear or jealousy. Elena's ship suddenly vanished from all sensors, reappearing thousands of kilometers away in an instant. Human teleportation technology, perfected in secret over decades. More ships appeared around the attacking fleet, not Confederation warships, but civilian vessels from hundreds of species. The evacuation fleet Elena had ordered had become something else entirely. Species across the galaxy had heard her broadcasts and sent their own ships to help protect Earth. Elena appeared on screens throughout the attacking fleet, speaking directly to the crews. "Look around you," she said. "How many different species are here? How many chose to come and help even though they don't have to? This is what the Umbral Covenant fears. Not human power, but the power of cooperation." One by one, ships began leaving the attacking fleet. First a few, then dozens, then entire squadrons. The crews had heard Elena's words and seen the evidence of the Covenant's lies. Within hours, only a few dozen ships remained, and their commanders finally revealed themselves. Elena recognized some of the faces, politicians and military leaders from several species, including a few humans. "This isn't over," one of them transmitted. "The galaxy will learn that strength is the only truth." "Maybe," Elena replied. But today they learned something else. They learned that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is choose not to fight. The remaining ships retreated, but Elena knew the real victory wasn't in driving them away. It was in the sight of hundreds of ships from different species, all working together to protect Earth without being ordered to do so. As Elena returned to her planet's surface, she could see the alien ships in orbit, their crews sharing supplies and stories with human vessels. The Umbral Covenant had tried to prove that cooperation was weakness. Instead, they had shown the galaxy that cooperation was stronger than any weapon. 2 years after the Battle of Earth, Elena stood once again in the Galactic Council chamber. But this time the huge room was filled with celebration instead of fear. Representatives from all 847 species had come to witness something that had never happened before in galactic history, a leader voluntarily giving up power. The revelation of the Umbral Covenant had changed everything. Professor Zintal's investigation had uncovered corruption, reaching into the highest levels of dozens of governments. General Thakmor himself had been arrested when evidence showed he had been feeding information to the Covenant, though Elena believed he had been manipulated rather than truly evil. More importantly, the galaxy had seen what happened when species worked together freely, instead of being forced to cooperate by a central authority. The mixed fleet that had defended Earth had stayed together, forming the first truly voluntary alliance in galactic history. Elena walked to the center of the chamber, carrying the galactic scepter for what she hoped would be the last time. The device had changed over the past 2 years, becoming less like a weapon and more like a tool for bringing people together. But Elena had learned that the most dangerous tool was one that concentrated too much power in a single person. "Fellow beings of the galaxy," Elena began, her voice carrying to every corner of the vast room. 2 years ago, I accepted leadership of the Confederation because someone had to. Today, I want to propose that no one should have to. Murmurs filled the chamber. Elena continued. The Umbral Covenant wanted to prove that cooperation was weakness. Instead, they proved that forced cooperation is what creates weakness. When species work together by choice, they are stronger than any empire built on fear. Elena raised the galactic scepter above her head. This device represents the old way of thinking, that one person, one species, one government should have power over all others. I propose we replace it with something better. On cue, representatives from dozens of species stepped forward. Each carried a piece of a new device that had been built in secret over the past year. Working together, they assembled it in the center of the chamber. Not a scepter for one ruler, but a network of connected crystals that could only function when multiple species operated it together. The Cooperative Council, Elena announced. No single person can control it. No single species can dominate it. Decisions require consensus from multiple worlds, and power rotates among all member species. The ethereal representative, still floating in the back of the chamber, spoke for the first time in decades. And what of disputes? What happens when consensus cannot be reached? Elena smiled. Then we do what humans have always done when we disagree. We keep talking until we find a solution everyone can live with. It might be slow, but it's fair. An unexpected voice interrupted from the crowd. It was Captain Vector, a former Umbral Covenant member who had surrendered during the Battle of Earth. What about security? He called out. What happens when enemies attack? The old system could respond quickly with overwhelming force. The new system responds with something better, Elena replied. It responds with every species choosing to defend each other because they want to, not because they have to. Elena placed the galactic scepter into a special holder that had been prepared for this moment. As she did, the ancient device began to glow brighter and brighter. "The scepter will power the new cooperative council," Elena explained. "But first it will erase all the old laws that allowed one person to rule over so many. When this is done, no one will ever again have the power I've held for the past 2 years." The scepter's light became almost blinding. Elena felt the device disconnecting from her nervous system, and for the first time in 2 years she felt truly free. When the light faded, the scepter was gone. In its place, the Cooperative Council's network of crystals glowed with gentle, shared light. Professor Zintal approached the new device, followed by representatives from the Ethereals, the reformed Corvin government, and dozens of other species. Working together, they activated the Cooperative Council for the first time. The first proposal, announced the Council's new voice, a harmony of sounds from multiple species, is to elect Elena Vasquez of Earth as the first rotating coordinator of the Cooperative Council for a term of 6 months. Elena laughed and shook her head. "I respectfully decline. I think Captain Vector would make a better choice. He understands both the old system and the new one." The proposal was modified, voted on, and passed. Vector, the former enemy, became the first coordinator of the new galactic government. Elena's work wasn't finished, though. Over the next few months, she traveled throughout the galaxy, helping species adapt to the new system. She visited the colony worlds that had been attacked by the Covenant, helping them rebuild. She met with former Covenant members who wanted to find a new path. Most importantly, she returned to what she had always loved best: exploration and discovery. 6 months after giving up power, Elena was back aboard the Terra's Dream with her original crew. They were exploring a newly discovered star system near the edge of the galaxy when Lieutenant Chen brought her an interesting message. "Captain, we're getting a signal from the Cooperative Council. They want to know if we'd be interested in leading a joint exploration mission. 12 species working together to map the unknown regions." Elena looked out at the stars ahead of them. "What do you think, Chen? Ready for another adventure?" "With you? Always, Captain." As the Terra's Dream headed toward the rendezvous point where ships from 12 different species were waiting, Elena reflected on the past 2.5 years. Humanity had been given power over the galaxy, and they had used it to give power back to everyone. The Umbral Covenant had been wrong about many things, but they had been right about one thing: the galaxy had changed. Species that had never spoken to each other were now working together. Former enemies were becoming friends. The strong were choosing to help the weak instead of dominating them. Elena received regular reports from Earth about how the new system was working. There were still arguments and problems, but they were being solved through discussion and compromise instead of force. It was messy and sometimes slow, but it was fair. Professor Zintal had been elected as the second rotating coordinator, and she was applying logical analysis to emotional problems in ways that surprised everyone. Captain Vector had become an advocate for reformed Covenant members, helping them find productive roles in the new galaxy. Even the Ethereals had become more active, sharing ancient knowledge that they had kept secret for millennia. Elena smiled as she watched the mixed fleet forming around them, ships from 12 species, all different shapes and sizes, but all working toward the same goal: discovery and understanding. "You know what the best part is?" Elena said to Chen as they approached the other ships. "What's that, Captain?" "Humanity never wanted the throne, but by accepting it when we had to, we proved that the best leaders are the ones who don't want to lead forever." Elena opened a communication channel to the entire exploration fleet. "This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the Terra's Dream. All ships ready for departure?" 12 different voices responded in 12 different languages, all saying the same thing: "Ready. Then let's go explore the unknown together." The fleet jumped to faster than light speed, heading toward uncharted space. Behind them, the galaxy continued its great experiment in cooperation. Ahead of them lay infinite possibilities. Elena had learned that leadership wasn't about having power over others. It was about helping others find the power within themselves. And sometimes the greatest service a leader could provide was showing others that they didn't need a leader at all. The stars called, and the galaxy answered, not as subjects following a ruler, but as friends choosing to explore the universe together. In the end, Humanity's greatest contribution to galactic civilization wasn't showing others how to rule. It was showing them how to be free.